So just
Here's the big most important, so I don't want to just stand there basically. I'll stay here, but I did reach out to the Rotary, I sit on the LORDEC board, and you know, we've got a lot of exciting things that we've been doing. We've got an exciting future that we're working towards, and we really felt we really need to get into these local groups and start sharing about our organization. Because not a lot of people know who we are. In the direction that we're headed. So Harrison is a much better presenter than me, and so I'm kind of the behind the scenes recording that here, and I'm gonna let him take it from there.
And I would start off, I would disagree. Yeah. I think it was just my turn to be presented. Yeah. But I do appreciate you all for the invitation to be here with you today. I just want to start off, this is very special to me because Jennifer mentioned earlier. Part of my college education was funded by the Rotary clubs through the graduate school, and had a chance to study economic development. Was qualified to get a job in Lake Ozarks because of the investment. So really appreciate what you all do here in this community and nationwide to help out people like me. If you don't know me, this is not a corner of the lake I get to as often as I probably should, but I am the city administrator in Lake Ozarks. I've had that job for 2 years. This week I've been in the city for 4.5. Moved to Lake Ozarks in July of 2020. Just as a quick show of hands, I know Ron, obviously Jeff and Casey are familiar with this, but has anybody here before attended the LORDEC meeting heard of us? Handful. Okay, very good. So some of this may be older information, some of this may be a new perspective, but certainly want to get folks engaged with what we are and where we're trying to go. Next slide, please. Thank you. First question, what is economic development? That could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. I know sometimes we look at that and we think it's Main Street, right? We might think that it's your best friend opening up a business that dreamed up for a long time. We might think that it's a new factory getting built. We might think it's a road being put in, or as a lot of people in Lake Ozarks do, it's repaving a road that's been there for 80, 90 years. I've included a couple definitions here. Apologize for the small text. I keep acting like I'm going to give so I'll just read these off to you. The first one of these is from the U.S. Economic Development Association, which is a professional association at federal level of economic developers. They define economic development as creating the conditions for economic growth and improved quality of life by expanding the capacity of individuals, businesses, and communities to maximize the use of their talents and skills to support innovation, job creation, and private investment. At a very large level, that's a huge umbrella. We can break that down a little bit to say creating conditions for economic growth, and then helping to grow individuals, their skill base, their knowledge base, businesses, their capacity to do export value add to the economy, and the communities like ours to grow them, create jobs, create infrastructure, create places that folks can, from birth to death, live and thrive. Another one down here, which is California Association for Economic Development. They've simplified it. They say it's the creation of wealth from which community benefits are realized. If you're able to take that dollar and reinvest it in the community, you all have maybe seen a chart before it's been produced that says if you have a new job created in a particular industry, that equates to so many additional dollars spent. So like for a convenience store, I think it's for every dollar spent there, it regenerates like $1.18 back. Something like a light manufacturing organization, it can be like $10. So that scales differently. And then one of my college textbooks, Local Economics in the 21st Century, said economic development is the process by which the economic well-being and quality in life of a nation, state, region, or community is improved according to targeted goals and objectives. I really like this definition. This is one that I think fits very well with LORDEC because this identifies it not only as an end goal, it's not just something else, but it's an ongoing practice, it's a process, and it is based on specific targeted goals and objectives. If you're not aiming for the target, even if you end up on one of the side rings instead of the bullseye, if these things are happening naturally, if they're happening separate from what you're working towards, that's not really targeted smart growth. It may be wonderful, beneficial for the community, but it's not necessarily targeted economic development. LORDEC itself, like the Ozarks Regional Economic Development Council, was formed in 2005, so 19 going on 20 years. The goal for the organization was to provide a regional and collaborative approach to economic development in the lake area. Now, when we say lake area, again, that's one of those things that folks may view as being several different geographic boundaries. It may just be the waterfront for some, it may be a 4-county area, it may just be the town they live in. LORDEC considers that to be Miller, Morgan, and Camden counties and all of the real estate we have. So waterfront to agricultural areas, rural, commercial corridors, anything else. Our organization is volunteer-led, funded by a variety of investors. Today, we have 38 member organizations that serve the Tri-County area. I wanted to highlight that this is volunteer-led because it's kind of a unique position for an economic development organization to be in. Most every other community or region has a staffed or professional EDO. We'll get to that in a little bit, but as we're looking to compete with other areas around the state, around the Midwest, around the nation, we're at a pretty significant disadvantage because of that structure. We don't have somebody who can focus 24/7, 365 on this. It relies on 9 of us on the board, a couple of other volunteers, splitting up our time amidst our work. You might be familiar with some of LORDEC's work that I'll put in the category of purchases. Regional housing studies, which I know our friend Ron is certainly familiar with, has maybe been involved with implementing that in the lake area. An entrepreneurship assessment that was done to see if our community is well positioned to lead to new business growth, new development. And again, we're not necessarily talking about somebody's ability to open up a place that would compete with RJ's here, but places that would create a number of jobs and add to like the state economy as a whole as far as trade. Next site, again, you may have heard about that project. That's a project we've wrapped up here this year. For 3 years, LORDEC in 5 area communities, I believe it's Camden, Eldon, Lake Ozarks, Osage Beach, and Versailles, paid into a commercial analytics. They looked at cell phone data trends to market the lake region, some of our sites for retailers. Saw a lot of success from that, determined that retail is not necessarily our target, but we're satisfied with that. And then site selector assessments as well that LORDEC has purchased over the years to bring in folks who do recruitment for factories, housing developments, et cetera, to see where in the lake we're well positioned, what some of our sites are short of, maybe as it relates to road access, infrastructure, what the education pipeline looks like for our various school districts to see if we're prepared for that kind of growth. Something else that we're very proud of are some of our practices. These would be those ongoing things that we do as a volunteer group to continue to push the region forward. First, and probably most famous of those would be our workforce roundtables. If Casey, you can kind of highlight that a bit, because you've been the champion there.
Yeah, so every spring we on the third year. I was gonna look that up before it's sporting, but what we've done with LORDEC representing Camden, Miller, and Morgan County, we bring all of the different school districts together in one setting. It's a half-day session. We also bring employers from various industries from our community. And we, in the past, we've done SWOT analysis, and we've done based on counties and regions and identifying strengths and opportunities. But the main purpose of it was to make sure the educators were talking with the employers. You know, we understand that not everybody is college bound now and then. We need some fun. We want to keep our youth here. We want to give them something to be proud of, that they know they can graduate, make it into a recognized credential, and go right into the workforce. And so the conversations that come from that workforce roundtable are really developing new skill sets that are identified that the educators, the schools can be teaching our students to get them work ready for the employers. So the school districts have been super supportive of this. I know it has really helped them identify a curriculum and what is really relevant for our community and what isn't. It also has, from this program, it has stemmed mentorship programs, apprentice programs, and so forth. So we continue to grow each year. We decided this year, this event's always been held February, March, and spring. We are still going to continue that. That seems to be a good time for everybody. But then in the fall, what we're going to do is, as we identify those challenges and maybe we all get better educated on how to overcome those challenges in the fall, we come back and do an education type event and bring in the experts related to those, so we can all still work as a community towards providing solutions. So otherwise, we're just going to keep on with the same challenges over and over again each year. So really great conversations have stemmed from that roundtable, and super proud of that. Love those dates. So we'll make sure too, when we start to get our date and location, always share it with your group to give them that involvement. It's really incredible to have a private sector present and helping to not only thank our educators too, but having that connection is important.
And again, I just want to brag on some of the work Casey and her team have done here, but there have been a lot of really really tangible, real assets that come out of that. I know I've sat in conversations with school of the Osage, primarily working, where they're talking about adjusting their senior, graduating profile to meet existing workforce needs. State or community college, constantly adjusting their curriculum, working with local employers to bridge those gaps. I don't think I'm saying anything profound here, but the purpose of these school systems is to take children, turn them into young people and successful people. And whether that means that they're waiting another 2 years getting a certificate, 4 years getting a degree, or the day after graduation entering the workforce, productive member of society, they need that skill set, right? They need to be prepared to do that long term. So there's been a lot of work done in that area really the last 4 years. Another one of these, one of the highlight business retention visits, Jennifer Pressberry, Como Connects. Everybody here is a Como customer. He's very proud of her work. She's working with the Department of Economic Development at state level to do visits with some of the larger, more significant employers, those that do a lot of exports in the 3-county area, to visit, see what some of their hurdles, some of their challenges are, what are their barriers to growth, are they on the verge of having to shrink, some of those things. And that's been very productive for us just in a few short months. And then relevant stakeholder presentations. Our organization meets every 3 months on a quarterly basis, and we try to have a relevant speaker present. This last time we had Jeff Tekthoff Development, the Oasis, the apartment project in Osage Beach. And he wasn't necessarily talking about how fun it's going to be to get on Ferris wheel. He was talking about this is how many jobs we're creating, this is what the payroll is going to be, this is what our utility demand is going to be. And it was a really good case study in how development can happen. Thank you, sir. Again, and I'm even going to have to move closer to the screen for this. LORDEC's evolution, again, in 19, almost 20 years, a lot of things change. A lot of things evolve. Targets change too. In 2022, our board and our organization adopted a new strategic plan. The overall goal, if you don't take anything else away from this meeting today, this is the one part I want you to listen in on and take home, share with people, is to build the organizational funding and marketing strategy, business retention foundation, and operating an effective and efficient catalyst for net employment and income growth like the Ozarks region. And doesn't that sound exciting? No. The key thing here is LORDEC, whether we use that name or it changes over time, the economic development organization serving Lake of the Ozarks should work to build our capacity to market the region. Again, we're not talking about come down here and build a single family luxury home. We're talking about doing development that makes an impact community wide, keeping those larger employers helping them expand, and then also working to grow employment numbers and income numbers for our 3-county area. That is the most important thing we're trying to look like. 1 year to the next, those practices may look different. As we look to add a staff member, our capacity to do that certainly changes, but if we keep our volunteer structure, this is still the target we're going to hit. I'm not going to bother to go through these 7 key outcomes. We'd love to share those with you, but they are just various facets that we'll use to try to hit that overall goal. Barriers to optimization, independence and interdependence of regional stakeholders. Mentioned earlier, I'm a city administrator. I'm going to take that hat off for 2 seconds. It can be very difficult to work with a group of elected people with differing opinions, and that's in one city where we're trying to get at least 4 votes to make something happen. You look at 3 counties, and you also realize that your stakeholders are not just aldermen and mayors, county commissioners, but it's school superintendents, it's large employers, it's banks. That's an uphill battle sometimes. But we all rely on each other. And I think, as the lake grows, we'll continue to see that more and more, that as one community grows, we all do. As one community suffers, we all do as well. But again, getting everybody to the table to be a real team is kind of a challenge here. Again, financial outlay difference. Currently, LORDEC operates on an $18,000 annual budget, which is pretty modest. That's funded by those dues that those investors pay. When we look at those other EDOs, even operating on a very small scale, like renting an office, 1 staff member, you're looking at $250,000 a year. And I'd probably say if we're working on 18 right now, our target's 25. That's a gap that can easily be bridged. You're looking at scaling this thing out at a crazy level. And as we've had some of these conversations with key investors, those folks would normally be at the table, they want to be sure that that investment is going to matter on an ongoing basis. So we're currently working to fund a feasibility study to go back to those key stakeholders and say, yes, the market can support a professional permanent EDO on an ongoing basis. The barrier for that is $35,000. It'll take a few months to wrap up. We're happy with the progress you're seeing on that, though. Number 3 is to recognize the value in economic development efforts practices. Look at the Ozarks is a unique region. Tourism is robust here. I think sometimes when we talk about economic development, whether that's organization or it's people on Facebook in the comment section, we think that we're trying to smother tourism or kill it or get rid of something else. That's not at all the intent here. You know, if you build a tower 100 stories tall, but 1 unit deep, it's very prone to falling over. We're just trying to broaden the base, expand it, and create a more stable environment here. We recognize that tourism and hospitality industry is always going to be the lifeblood of our region, agriculture as well. We're just really trying to find those complementary sectors we can bring in to create a more stable environment. And then involvement versus commitment. I think my friend Adrian with his breakfast. Did I see you had sausage and eggs, bacon and eggs? That's great. It still works. So like you're making that breakfast and you got a chicken that was involved in getting those eggs to you, right? You got a pig, but you got a pig that was committed, right? And there's a lot of people in the Lake region who are involved in economic development. We run campaigns, we say I'm pro growth, everything else. But when it comes to being committed, putting the work in, everything else, it's just not at the level that currently, whether it's financially or sweat equity, other areas are putting in this time. So really think it's key to try to get those folks committed versus just writing us a check every year and saying that they're supportive of our efforts. Next steps currently underway. Modest capital campaign for the feasibility study. Mentioned that. I want to be able to put that in the hands of people who've been giving us $2,500 a year, $1,000 a year, $500 a year. Show them that if they ramp that up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, that impact can translate to hundreds of thousands back to the organization in time. Adjusted practices and priorities. Regional marketing, Morgan Crenshaw, Lake Area Chamber, if y'all know her, she's led an effort this year to take some of our demographic information, infrastructure capacity, site capacity. She's created county by county profiles that we can do. We can do it's like a 1 or 2 pager to show to site selectors, to those that are coming in as we do responses for information. Community education here next week. We're hosting an event in Lake Ozark for elected officials, folks with jobs like mine, school officials, chamber executives, to try to elevate our level of understanding of economic development practices and the importance of that. Out of a possible, I think it said like 57 people, we've got about 40 of them that are going to be at the table for that. And I think it's going to be a really important conversation for us, the 3-county region, to kind of recenter our efforts and determine what the path forward looks like. Workforce development, cases work we highlighted earlier, BR&E, mentioned Jennifer Pressbury's work there, and then government relations. Having a LORDEC alumni in Jeff City is going to be tremendous for us with that, but also we want to have an ongoing effort where our organization is meeting with city halls, county commissions, and the folks in Jeff City to ensure that our region is best prepared to accept development and growth going forward. Next slide, please. I would be remiss if I did not thank the folks who are currently on our board. Heather Brown with Lake the Ozarks CVB, Mike Huntsman, Lake West Chamber, Andy Dunlap, the Osage Beach branch of Central Bank, Matt Kostelnik, Eldon Area Chamber, Casey Cloak, who you're familiar with, we all love. Tabitha Thompson, Stateford Community College. Jeff, again, we all love, America's sweetheart, Jeff Netti, and Kelly Miller of Central Ozarks Medical Center. Committee leads Jennifer Presbury, Morgan Crenshaw, and Steve Duss for the work that they're doing. Would really encourage everybody here, welcome you. Again, if you have any, I would say anything more than 3% of interest in economic development in our organization, seeing how this changes in the future, want you all to attend our annual meeting being held January 17th at Stateford Community College. It's a breakfast. I think we normally start that at 8 or 8:30. I need to talk with Tabby to be sure we kick that off. But that'll be a good opportunity to learn at a deeper level some of our efforts, what's going on statewide, what's going on in the region, and to see folks in our communities get recognized with some of our awards for job growth, housing development, some other things. New membership. We've had some membership growth this year. Again, whether it's your Rotary Club, you as an individual, or the businesses you represent, would love to have you at the table. You can buy in anywhere from $100 to $5,000. Not asking you to open your checkbook today, but know that you can make a difference as you come in and try to push some of these efforts forward. And at this point, no, I think you're not at the end, but happy to answer any questions on LORDEC, the work we do, the work we're hoping to do. I would say that economic development is something, if you've got kids, somebody with kids, somebody with a job, somebody looking for a job, this is something that can have an impact on everybody's day-to-day life. As we talk about issues like housing, which again, we've got a champion in the room with us who's trying to address those. As we talk about and getting these kids to come back after they leave and go to school. You know, these are tangible things we talk about all the time. We don't necessarily think about it from a policy or practice standpoint. We've got to solve that. That's really what our goal is here. And every month, every year that passes, that the Lake region is not trying to compete and is not qualified to compete with even folks in our immediate area, Jeff City, Columbia, Springfield, Lebanon, just down the road. We are losing out on quality jobs, quality housing, and quality opportunities for people that we know and love on a daily basis. So would certainly encourage you all, whether you engage with LORDEC or not, if you just want to be a community champion for economic development efforts, this series is great to get that.
One of the things I've found with LORDEC is, you know, when I first got down here to the lake, that's how I really got to know everything that's going on, especially concerning housing. And I got put on to the housing, we had a housing task force that was part of LORDEC at the time, and that morphed into a 501c3 CDC, Community Development Corporation, that now we've got actual results. We're getting ready to do the executive director position so that we get done flipping the house and doing some other things. But these all volunteer boards, you know, you really need to have people that want to work, because Casey can't do it all. She can't be a member of 10 volunteer boards and make a huge difference. But there's, I mean, if anyone is remotely interested, or if they know somebody that's new to the area that's benefit, tell them to get involved. The meetings are free to go to. I think you can still Zoom in, right?
We got rid of this.
I'd be happy to reintroduce that though, if we had somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a way that you can really make positive connections, and you don't know where that connection is going to take you, especially if you're new, you know, rental management company in the area or whatever. You will meet people in that room that will benefit you and will lead you to someone that will benefit you. At the same time, you can get back to the games.
And I'll say too, as Ron brought back to the volunteer board, you know, the obvious barrier, there's only so many hours a week. When I was LORDEC president, take a call from somebody that's interested in doing development in Camden, I'm very limited professionally in how far I can guide them through the process, right? They make the same calls about Lake Ozarks, I can take them to the end zone. But this really works best when you have a person who is with them every step of the way, making the introductions, advocating for them, and championing their cause. As we have, I mentioned our board members earlier, a lot of us have a defined geography, right? Whether that's city limit line, Eldon area, Chamber of Commerce, you know, whatever that looks like. The folks like Jeff, Kelly, Tabitha, Andy are great additions because their scope of influence is a little bit broader. As we try to bring more private sector folks in to lead this thing, and again, I'll be the first to say it, a person with a job like mine should not be considered the economic development leader in the area, right? I'm part of the pipeline, I'm a supporter. I should not be the guy carrying the ball in the end zone. That should be somebody with a job, probably more than
The last thing I want to have, you know, Harrison, for some big sessions, somebody figure about or invite an invitation even just to have attend a meeting. If you go to our website, LORDEC.com, you can sign up to get our emails. And so we'll send a notice out of when the meeting will next take place and registration links, especially for the annual meeting in January. So I encourage you, and we will indeed your inbox, like we don't send out that many more or less meeting invitations. So definitely sign up for that. And I also encourage you all to check out Lebanon Ready or JC Rent. Those are the two neighboring economic development organizations that, you know, touch our region that have paid staff and team members, and you'll be able to see where we could be led to. That's our goal, to end up as organizations like that. And just, I went down a rabbit hole checking out that JC Rep page, but I was very excited to see the opportunities that we do have for our community. So check those pages out too.
You say the board has been around for almost 20 years. What's the biggest success or what's the number one thing for?
Yeah, so, and again, I've only been in the lake area for a little bit. The folks who I've been on the board with have only been involved really heavily for like the last 8 or 10 years. So if there's anything prior to that, that we can say was because of us, I don't know what it is. Today, I don't think LORDEC is directly responsible for a single job being created, a single house being built. We cannot claim, like most economic development organizations can. I do think our greatest success, though, has been some of these tools that we're able to put in the hands of professionals. The housing study, which again, I know, contractors, bank lenders, nonprofits, architects have all taken advantage of. You know, that shows that there's a 5,000 unit shortage in our 3-county area. Everything from Section 8 housing to luxury homes, single family to multifamily apartments, condos, duplexes, everything else. That's real, like actual data that helps people make a decision on an area that frankly is on an outside looking in, an uncertain market on anything. Which we all know from our gut is not what is the need in the lake area. It'll always happen, it'll continue to expand nationally, but to solve problems, you need a variety of housing. I think we've had a lot of housing success from that. I would say too, that as we look at some of the demographic studies that LORDEC has paid to have produced over time, I can say through my job specifically, can't speak for everybody else in the lake area, I am regularly handing it out to people who are delivering on projects every month or more, folks who are coming in, again, mostly on the retail side, mostly on the housing side, but they're able to make their decisions based on the information we provided. So I hope that when I have this next visit with you all in 2-3 years, I can say that we were responsible for a light manufacturing facility being constructed with 60 new jobs, good wages, and a direct, school to employee pipeline. We're just not there yet, but we're trying to plant the seeds for folks who can move the careers there.
Looking forward over the next 12 to 18 months, what's the number one objective?
Number one objective for us certainly is wrapping up the funding on this feasibility study, so we can go back to financial institutions, the utility providers, and the government agencies, who are the 3 key groups that normally fund these. Say the organization can not only support this, it demands it. Again, and that may not look like a 3-county service area. We know the 2. We're aware it may just be that can only exist on like Camden Miller corridor, 54 and 5, or it may show something completely different. That is really the only way we can take a measurable approach to growth. And as we've met with those folks, they say they believe in the mission. They just need to see the proof, much in the same way that those housing developers do when they need the housing study.
But there's just no data. There's no data here. I mean, you got to pay someone to get the stats. And honestly, 5,000 units was done. That was a revised study, basically done during COVID. We didn't really. The numbers were wrong.
Yeah, that was 2022.
Yeah, we need significantly more than 5,000.
And that was to catch up with present workforce demands.
Yeah.
That was not talking about economic growth over the next 10 years. That was just to satisfy the existing need. And again, I think I mentioned earlier there's like a cultural issue here. There has been a lot of development in the lake area. Again, you're thinking I've been writing LORDEC a check for $100 every year. I don't know why I would change that to 10,000 overnight. The development that has been going on is not what we're talking about. And again, as we try to broaden that base, create something more stable, and elevate everything else in the area, that investment could come back tenfold. But there's a lot of folks that assume that what has been going on right now is, how you generate tremendous wealth and quiet. So, fighting that battle too.
Questions for Harrison or Casey?
I really appreciate the information.